In the quiet town of Springfield, Oregon, a mother's dark secret unraveled on a fateful night in 1983. Elizabeth Diane Downs, seemingly a devoted mother, drove her blood-soaked children to the hospital, claiming a bushy-haired stranger had attacked them. But as investigators peeled back the layers of her story, a chilling and far more sinister truth emerged. What would drive a mother to commit the unthinkable? Was Diane Downs a cold-blooded killer, or was something even more twisted lurking beneath the surface? Let's step into the mind of one of the most disturbing serial killers in history. Diane Downs was born on August 7, 1955, in Phoenix, Arizona, to Wesley Lyndon Fredrickson and Willadine Fredrickson, née Engel. Her parents, of Danish and English-American descent, married on April 11, 1954. Growing up, Diane developed a deep resentment toward her father, often criticizing him for being overly strict and controlling. She believed he dominated her mother's attention, leaving her feeling neglected and overlooked. "He spent too much time with my mom, and my mom spent no time with me," Diane once expressed. She has testified that her father sexually abused her when she was a child, although she later recanted the allegations, and both of her parents denied that any incident took place. Diane Downs grew up in a strict, conservative family. Her parents didn't allow her to wear trendy clothes or makeup, which made her a target for bullying. But at 14, she started rebelling against their rules. She attended Moon Valley High School in Phoenix, where she met Steve Downs, her future husband. Even though her parents didn't approve, Diane stayed with Steve. After high school, she went to Pacific Coast Baptist Bible College in California, but was kicked out after a year for bad behavior. She then moved back to Arizona. On November 13, 1973, Diane ran away from home and married Steve, who had joined the U.S. Navy. At her trial, Diane later said, "I didn't marry Steve for love. I married him to get away from my family." Their first daughter, Christy Ann, was born in 1974, and their second, Cheryl, in 1976. Diane had an abortion during her next pregnancy, but later regretted it after seeing pictures of fetuses at an anti-abortion booth. She testified, "I felt I had to make up for what I did wrong. I was told that a 6-week-old fetus was just mucus." Diane also said that Steve had a vasectomy, so she slept with a friend, Mark Sager, to have another child. In 1979, her third child, Stephen Daniel, was born. Diane and Steve often argued about money and accusations of cheating, which led to their divorce in 1980 after it was revealed that Diane had an affair, resulting in the birth of their son, Daniel. On May 8, 1982, Diane gave birth to a girl named Jennifer as a surrogate mother, despite failing psychiatric tests twice that indicated signs of psychosis. Before her arrest, Diane worked for the United States Postal Service, delivering mail in Cottage Grove, Oregon. According to Steve, she showed little care for their children and lacked maternal instincts. He later explained, "Diane treated the kids terribly. She wouldn't give them anything. If Danny wanted attention, she would push him away." Steve also recalled an unsettling moment with their daughter, Cheryl. "One day, I found Cheryl jumping on her bed and I told her she couldn't do that. I made her sit and think about it. Cheryl looked at me calmly and asked, 'Is there a gun here?' When I said no and asked why she was asking, she said, 'I want to kill myself. My mom says I'm bad.'" On May 19, 1983, Diane Downs shot her 3 children and drove them to Mackenzie Willamette Hospital in Springfield, Oregon, in a car covered in blood. Danny, who was 3 years old, was paralyzed from the waist down. Christy, 8, had suffered a severe stroke, and Cheryl, 7, was already dead. Diane had also been shot in her left arm. She claimed that a stranger had carjacked her on a rural road and shot her and the children. However, both the police and hospital staff grew suspicious because Diane seemed too calm for someone who had just gone through such a terrible event. She also made several strange and inappropriate comments. Diane told investigators that while driving home from a friend's house with her children asleep in the car, she decided to take a scenic route. She said that around 10 p.m., she saw a man on the road waving her down. After pulling over, she claimed the man demanded her car keys. When she refused, they fought, and he shot her in the arm. According to her, the man then opened the car door and shot her children. Diane said she tricked him by pretending to throw the car keys in the bushes, and while he searched for them, she got back in the car and drove to the hospital. Doubts about her story grew when Diane called Robert Knickerbocker, a married man she had been having an affair with, after arriving at the hospital. The evidence also didn't match her story. There was no blood or gunpowder residue on the driver's side of the car, and Knickerbocker told police that Diane had been stalking him and would have killed his wife to be with him. He was relieved when she moved to Oregon. Diane did not tell police she owned a .22 caliber handgun, but both her ex-husband Steve and Knickerbocker confirmed she did. The investigators found bullets in her home that matched the markings of the gun used in the shooting, though the gun itself was never found. Witnesses also saw Diane's car driving slowly toward the hospital, contradicting her claim that she rushed there. With this evidence, Diane was arrested 9 months later, on February 28, 1984, and charged with murder and attempted murder. Diane Downs' incarceration included a series of notable events. Sentenced to life plus 50 years, she could not be considered for parole until 2009. During her initial parole hearing in December 2008, she maintained her innocence, insisting that a man had shot her and her children. Lane County District Attorney Douglas Harklerode criticized her lack of genuine insight into her crimes, noting her inconsistent accounts of the events. Downs' parole applications in 2008, 2010, and 2020 were all denied. Downs escaped from the Oregon Women's Correctional Center on July 11, 1987, by scaling an 18-foot razor wire fence was a significant event. For 10 days, she evaded capture despite a 14-state manhunt, but was eventually recaptured and received an additional 5-year sentence. Following this, she was transferred to the New Jersey Department of Corrections Clinton Correctional Facility for Women due to safety concerns for her surviving children. Downs continued her education in prison, earning an associate degree in general studies. In 1994, she was moved to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and in 2010, to Valley State Prison for Women, which later became an all-male institution. Downs' 2 surviving children, Christy and Danny, were adopted by lead prosecutor Fred Hughey and his wife Joanne in 1986. Christy, who testified at Downs' trial, suffers from a speech disability. She named her own daughter Cheryl in memory of her deceased sister. Diane's 5th child, Amy Elizabeth, born a month after her 1984 trial, was adopted by Chris and Jackie Babcock and renamed Rebecca. Prosecutors argued that Diane shot her children to be free from them so she could continue her affair with Knickerbocker, who didn't want kids in his life. A psychiatrist testified that Diane was diagnosed with narcissism and antisocial behavior, showing no remorse for her actions. Her surviving daughter Christy also testified, explaining that her mother shot all 3 children before shooting herself. On June 17, 1984, Diane was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. The judge made it clear that he did not want Diane to ever be released. Thank you for exploring the disturbing case of Diane Downs with us. Her story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lie within. If you found this video insightful, please like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth looks into true crime.